there is a quiet but unmistakable tension building around Iran tonight. The U.S. State Department has issued a clear warning to American citizens: leave Iran immediately. The advisory comes as the United States and Iran take their first cautious steps back into indirect nuclear negotiations, hosted in Oman. These talks are fragile, closely watched, and surrounded by rising military and political pressure. Shortly after the discussions concluded, events in the region reminded everyone just how narrow the path forward is. According to U.S. officials, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy dispatched roughly 40 fast attack boats into the Strait of Hormuz. This move followed new American sanctions targeting Iran's so-called Ghost Fleet, oil tankers accused of secretly smuggling Iranian crude. The timing was impossible to ignore. Despite the tension, the talks themselves lasted nearly 8 hours, and both sides agreed to meet again. For now, officials describe the discussions as a good start. These were the most substantive conversations between American and Iranian negotiators since U.S. and Israeli strikes targeted Iranian nuclear facilities last June. Present in the background was U.S. Central Command Commander Admiral Brad Cooper, who has been overseeing a growing American military presence in the Middle East, including an aircraft carrier strike group positioned in the region. Economic pressure is also weighing heavily on Tehran. Treasury officials revealed that protests in Iran late last year may have been intensified by a sharp dollar shortage, triggered by sanctions and the collapse of one of Iran's major banks. U.S. officials describe signs of money being moved rapidly out of the country, an indicator, they say, of growing concern within Iran's leadership. Against this backdrop, the State Department's warning to Americans is blunt. Those still inside Iran are urged to leave without delay. Those who cannot are advised to seek secure shelter and prepare supplies, food, water, medications, and essentials, for an uncertain period ahead. The stakes could not be higher. In the 48 hours leading up to the talks, the IRGC seized vessels carrying smuggled fuel, harassed a U.S. gun-flagged tanker, and launched a Shahed-139 drone toward the USS Abraham Lincoln. The drone was intercepted, but the message was clear. Rhetoric from Tehran also escalated, with threats aimed at the Strait of Hormuz, a vital artery for global oil shipments. Satellite imagery now shows new activity at Iran's Isfahan nuclear complex, possibly efforts to harden the site against future strikes. Still, officials stress that the negotiations underway are limited in scope. They focus solely on Iran's nuclear program, not regime change, and not Iran's ballistic missile arsenal, despite Israel's insistence that missiles must be addressed. As the talks move forward, skepticism remains strong in Washington. Florida Congressman Brian Mast, chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, acknowledged Iran's long history of drawn-out negotiations. While Iranian officials describe the talks as constructive, Mast cautions that Tehran often delays, reassesses, and ultimately defies agreements. He describes two parallel conversations taking place. One from the United States insisting Iran can no longer threaten America or its allies, and another from Iran attempting to determine what level of threat it can still maintain, whether through nuclear development, missiles, drones, or proxy forces like Hezbollah and the Houthis. President Trump, for his part, has been unmistakably direct. In a recent interview, he warned that Iran's leadership should be very worried, noting that any attempt to secretly advance nuclear facilities would be met with severe consequences. So far, those consequences have not arrived, but the military posture is unmistakable. An American armada sits nearby and every move is being measured. Will Iran step back, dismantle its nuclear ambitions, and reduce its regional aggression? Or will this path end in confrontation? Some voices argue the moment represents a historic opportunity to dismantle the Iranian regime entirely. Others warn that removing a government without a clear successor risks chaos, or something worse filling the vacuum. For now, the window for diplomacy remains open, but it is narrowing. Officials describe a checklist of conditions, strategic, operational, and political, that must be met before any decisive action. Until then, negotiations continue, balanced carefully on the edge of escalation. The fuse is burning. Whether it reaches the end, or is extinguished in time, remains to be seen.